The engines of the landing craft rumble as the cold, tired men huddle together in the early June morning. Explosions growl in the distance, getting louder and louder. One soldier thinks that it feels like another miserable exercise as he looks at the familiar helmets in front of him. However, the shores ahead would not have Britain like in his training. They were French, and the beach bore a name that would be remembered in history: Omaha. By 1944, the German war machine controlled most of Europe, from France in the west to Poland in the east. This was, however, a crucial stage of the Second World War. As the Russians and Germans fought a war of survival in the east, the Western Allies were called upon to create a new front in France. The plan that was created was called Operation Overlord, a campaign to liberate France through Normandy and to push the Germans back. A vital step for this assault was the amphibious landing on the 5 beaches codenamed Utah, Omaha, Gold, Juno and Sword. This attack would be coordinated on June the 6th, 1944, a date better known today as D-Day. The attack would come early in the morning in waves. The first wave would consist of engineers with tank support. Their task was to come in at low tide and clear the obstacles designed to stop the Allies from reaching the shore. This task was vital, as the beach was laden with mines and barriers that would destroy ships coming in too close. Once these channels were made, they would be marked with floating buoys to guide reinforcements when the waters rose. This would enable more and more men and equipment to reach the shore and for a firm beachhead to be established. Once captured, the beach would serve as a vital port for the campaign to recapture Normandy. Unfortunately, the Americans at Omaha would face the greatest challenges of the operation. The seas were rough, pushing men off course and causing chaos. Clouds covered the German positions, severely reducing the effectiveness of aerial bombing and leaving the defences intact. This meant that the first waves would land chaotically, and the Germans were well prepared to face them. The first scattered units faced heavy artillery, mortar and machine gun fire. Rockets fired from Allied destroyers that were out of range would mistakenly fire on their own men, adding to the inferno. Most of the amphibious tanks had been lost after taking on water in the rough seas. Their vital support had disappeared. The men bravely continued with their objectives despite the odds. 6 channels were created, though only 1 buoy could be deployed successfully to mark the clearing. Overall, it had been a disappointing start for the assault. The Germans were highly satisfied with their successful defence and diverted men to the east to reinforce the other beaches. The next waves would start arriving soon after, clogging up the coast. Commanders recognised the necessity of pushing forward. Colonel George A. Taylor exclaimed that there were 2 kinds of men on this beach: those who are dead and those who are about to die. Through courage and desperation, they advanced and made their first footholds off the beach. At this moment, there were key developments to push the battle in the Americans' favour. Communications to the destroyers off the coast had improved, and they pushed closer to point-blank range to provide more effective support. Despite the risk of grounding the ships, this proved to be a pivotal moment as the bombardment softened the German defences. As more men and material arrived, the tide of the battle turned. One by one, the German strongholds would surrender, and the attackers pushed them back around a mile off the coast. By the end of the day, 34,000 men had landed on the coast of Omaha. Despite the initial setbacks, the Americans had won victory from the jaws of a brutal defeat. The action at Omaha had been the bloodiest out of the 5 beaches. 2,400 men had been wounded or killed during the attack. Their bravery had played an important role in the success of Operation Neptune and the fall of Nazi Germany. Over 1 million men would join the struggle to recapture Normandy. By August, the French capital of Paris had been liberated, and Hitler would be dead within a year.